podcast, the truths unveiled, exploring the depths beyond what is retail. Conspiracies, esoteric knowledge so enthralling. Open up your mind, let's dive into the sprawling. Oh yeah. Grey pill awaken, question what you know. Peeling back the latest, let your curiosity grow. Uncover hidden realities, break the mold. Come take the journey, let your mind unfold.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Elohim Etymology. Coming at you from the greypilledpodcast here with my co-host Adrian West. Adrian, how we doing, brother?
Doing fantastic as always. How are you, Jules?
Rock and roll. I'm good, man. I'm good. Son went paintballing this morning, so get to hear about that here in a little bit. He's growing up fast.
Did you go with him?
No.
Okay.
Not me.
Got it.
Used to do that when I was around his age, but I was needed elsewhere. Yeah. And I wanted to do a little bit of research before we got into this episode. Guys, what's going on? We are talking today about Ningishzidda, also known as Tahuti, Thoth, Hermes, Mercury, Quetzalcoatl, lots of names throughout history that you can like look at the symbolism of these certain deities, and there's many similarities, as well as the knowledge that this certain deity gives to humanity, which I know this particular entity is one that you have dived into quite deeply.
Yeah, Ningishzidda, or Thoth, or Hermes, or Quetzalcoatl, however you want to call him, is one of the most revered in history amongst the entire pantheon. He's mentioned in tons of cultures, and he's also one of the gods that, if you're weighing the scales, the amount of good deeds and good qualities that he had compared to mishaps, mistakes, it's a lot of good things compared to a small amount of bad things. Let's put it that way. Compared
to Marduk, who we've done 3 episodes on, who we kind of came to a conclusion on our last episode, but I was telling people that we wouldn't, that wasn't the last that we'd be seeing of him. He's all throughout this story as well. But yeah, so a couple things I wanted to announce before we get started, guys. Next Sunday is the 1-year anniversary of Grey Pilled. So I will be doing a stream, basically an all-day stream. Going to be having a lot of people on. Still have some guests that I need to confirm with, but I will be mentioning it and kind of posting on that throughout the week. Another thing, March 8th. This is a big announcement. Thomas just confirmed it this morning. Saturday, March 8th, we are having on Sound Science Weston Cage, the son of Nicolas Cage. He is in a band. He's big into music as well as like the esoteric and stuff and conspiracies. I think he's been on Juan's podcast before, so it's going to be a banger. It's going to be a super banger. Y'all stay tuned for that. Yeah, guys, got a lot of new stuff coming here on this 1-year anniversary that will I think a lot of you will enjoy. So as well, dude. So Adrian, I've had people who I podcast with that want to have you on their podcast as well. I'll have to talk to you about that later. Also want me and you to come on to talk about what we talk about on this show. So I think
they call that a tag team.
Yeah, bro. We'll tag team that shit.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Say hello to the chat. Dunk, good to see you. Anna Banana, good to see you. Meat Cavern, Subliminal, Curtis, Z-Man, Jay Brooks, JC. Probably got some more people filing in here, hopefully. I sent Doc Shelley, good to see you, man. Anyway, Ningishzidda. I'm going to go ahead and pull some of this up. You can't find too many images of like his original deity name. You find the symbolism. I guess this perhaps could be him right here. But then again, they all usually look similar in these ancient Sumerian, these descriptions of them. I don't know if they're cuneiform or if these are just kind of like transferred to a drawing from a tablet.
Yeah, they appear to be more artistic from a later culture than ancient cuneiform.
I got you. Well, and we'll talk about the symbolism throughout the episode. You see a lot having to do with DNA, the serpent spiraling up the staff, which could be representative of our spinal cord, right? Our spinal column. As well as his involvement in creation myths, along with his father Enki, who we've talked about as well. He's very important, especially real early on in this story. Right? I mean,
Yeah. So Enki had multiple sons, and they served a multitude of functions, but Zidda ended up being the most similar to him as far as broad spectrum of knowledge and the interest in genetics and building. We'll get to it. We touched on it in the last one, but the pyramids was the brainchild of Enki, and then like the conceptual mastermind leadership of Zidda.
Enki owned the company, and Ningishzidda was like the contractor, basically,
like the supreme superintendent.
Gotcha. Yeah, man.
Project Pyramids.
Yeah, dude.
Now hiring.
That story is wild, and we have touched on it. We have touched on it before, I think. And he basically built these pyramids, so it says, and in return, the Sphinx was originally made to venerate him, right?
Yep.
But I don't know, man. This symbolism, we've talked about this before. The caduceus, which we see on every medical institution, the snakes spiraling, and that's representative also of serpent knowledge, serpent energy, you could say, because there is. We both kind of talked about this before as well. That energy is portrayed. It looks kind of like a serpent moving, right? In like a wave-like form. Uh-oh. Your mic went out.
Yes, I'm back.
No,
I was agreeing with you.
I don't think I muted you.
Back in action.
I know we left off last time. We were talking about the first Pyramid War. We've kind of been stuck in Egypt for a while, because these deities, they're in Egypt for a long time. The gods walked the earth for this many years until they kind of went behind the scenes, and all the king priest, because the king priest, that's what people don't understand. The pharaohs didn't have any contact with these certain deities. It was the king priest that did, right?
Yeah, in the early days.
Yeah.
Yeah, the priest kings predated
said that backwards.
They predated the pharaohs. You're allowed to have dyslexic moments in 2025. Just not a ton.
That happens with the comments too. I'll read the comments that are in the chat, and I'll read them like down, up. I have to work on that. Did you want to break us in on the second Pyramid War?
Yeah, let's briefly touch on what transpired between the first and second.
Okay.
So, after the first Pyramid War, Seth escapes to Asia and seizes the Sinai Peninsula and Canaan. Moving forward a little bit, the space facilities became ruled by the clan of Enki, his descendants, and this is kind of one of the precursors to the Second Pyramid War, along with the death of Dumuzi and the wrath of Inanna, and the constant strife between the two factions, the Enlilites and the Enkyites. But there was a period of peace shortly after that, and let's see here.
Take your time, because this research that we're doing, I haven't seen anyone else portray this stuff kind of like we have. And so right here, guys, this is Thoth, Ningishzidda. He was known as Ningishzidda throughout like Assyria, Acadia, all that stuff, until he finally gets to Egypt, right?
Predominantly, yes.
Yeah, yes. And that means Lord of the Good Tree. I'm pretty sure. Which you usually see Nin, that prefix, for the female Sumerian deities.
Typically, you're right.
Yeah, so
Ninki,
yeah, man.
Ninki, Ninhursag,
Ninma.
Ninlil, yeah, Ninma.
Yeah. So I don't know, that there's something to that, maybe a duality aspect with male and female, feminine and masculine.
Yep.
But this is him portrayed as Thoth, Tahuti. This on his head, not too sure. Is that the Atef crown? I think that's known as the Atef crown, which is the crown of Upper and Lower Egypt.
Okay.
Yeah, and then sometimes he's depicted with the sun over his head, as most deities were when, as Ra being the leading deity in Egypt. But this right here is the ibis bird that he has on his head, which we've talked about before. It represents him digging into the earth and bringing out sustenance, bringing darkness into light. This depiction on the right and in this picture is him and Typhon. Now, I haven't really looked into other names that Typhon may. I think Set. Is the best. Like, I don't know. I think you could link Typhon to being Set. That's how it's known in the mysteries, like in all the mystery schools. But he's depicted as a chimeric beast, as y'all see. And there's a lot of depictions as well with Thoth stepping on the alligator, or Hermes stepping on the alligator. And you see this throughout these civilizations. It's the same thing with the staff, with the caduceus around it. You see that with Hermes as well as Thoth. I'm not going to get too ahead of ourselves, but some people may think that he was a guy with a bird head. I think that was just, symbolic. As well as, you see a lot of these ancient pictures or carvings of them, and they have the head of a bird or an eagle, hawk, and the ibis bird ties in directly with that. And that's symbolic of maybe them coming from the heavens, right?
Yes, and the ability to fly in the air, whether that's Earth's atmosphere or space, which corroborates the originating from the heavens angle. So
what was you were still talking about the Pyramid War and kind of what led up to the Second Pyramid War. So the first one, we know that Marduk was in charge of that region, right?
Yes.
So
well, the first one the first one, we're going back to the beef between Osiris and Seth. But yes, you're right. Marduk did divide the land between them to start all that.
Yeah, that was Lower and Upper Egypt.
Yep.
Now, was Thoth like a mediator kind of between those lands?
You know, he wasn't quite in that high echelon leadership role there just yet. I mean, there's a chance he could have still been I wish I could interview him personally, but he could have been tinkering with genetics or dealing with some of the post-flood drama. But
the Nephilim DNA.
Yeah, mark that one down so we can investigate. I'm sure we can find out what he was up to between like 11,000 BC and 9,700 BC.
I got you. So probably just a furry. I don't know, man. That's also all the attributes of Typhon, I think, may also be symbolic as well. I've done some episodes on the occult symbolism of animals. So Marduk, probably. Wasn't Marduk a certified bad bitch? He thought he was. So what was the cause of the Second Pyramid War?
The death of Dumuzi.
Okay.
And essentially who would rule and control the land of Egypt.
So I know that Thoth ruled for how long in Egypt? Was this earlier on that he ruled?
Enki ruled earlier. Give me a second to pull up the
As-Ptah. Okay.
Yeah.
As-Ptah, which we've talked about on the last episode. Well, actually, not the last episode. I did a deep dive on Osiris on Monday, Inauguration Day, because there's that theory that I think we've mentioned on here before of during the presidential inauguration, there's an Osirian ritual happening at the same time. Have you heard about that?
I'm sure I have. I know there's multiple rituals, but Osirian, I'm sure it's crossed my lexicon.
Right. Well, the Osirian rituals always tie into like the rebirth, right? All the rebirth rituals, in which some people think that's where like the earliest form of baptisms came from. Yeah. So let's see. Here's a better picture, guys. And I'll just read a little bit here. Thoth was a scribe, interpreter, and advisor to the gods. He was the creator of the hieroglyphic writing system. And in the book of Enoch, even, I wanted to bring this up. His name, so it describes the fallen angel who taught writing, is, let me find it in here so I don't butcher it. Penemu, Penemu, fuck, dude, I can't even spell. Penemue. But that's also been kind of linked to Abraxas or Abraxiel. And we know that the symbolism for Abraxas is also the snakes, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was associated with order and justice as well, and was the representative of the sun. Well, okay, so he was a representative of the sun god Ra, who was his brother. We know that. He was worshipped from 6 millennium BCE until the fall of the Persian Empire in 1st century BCE. Does that line up with what you have? Because we know how Google can be. certain sources, and we've kind of come to our own conclusion about this timeline.
Say the dates again.
6th millennium BCE to 1st century BCE.
The rule of Thoth?
He was worshipped.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Was depicted as a human male with the head of an ibis, also depicted as a baboon with a crescent moon on its head. Huh.
Interesting.
I don't know the symbolism for baboons. I have to look into that. Yes, sometimes depicted wearing the Atef crown, which is the crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. Thoth created arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and medicine, is also credited with inventing the 365-day calendar. Was associated with speech, literature, arts, and learning, and associated as a measurer and recorder of time. Thoth's female counterpart was Seshat. We know her as Azimua, right?
Yeah.
Who basically in Sumeria, it talks about her being the daughter of Ninmah and Enki. So would that just be his sister?
You said it, brother.
It's most likely his sister,
Anunnaki.
right? Yeah, it's most likely his sister. And we've talked about all these royal bloodlines intermarrying and inbreeding and stuff, and how that comes from how these ancient deities used to do it. We're not going to go off too much here because it'll go into Wikipedia, and we know how that goes. They start calling him the god of the moon and stuff, and I have never really seen that before.
Yeah, well, the crescent moon is more understood to be associated with Nanarsin and that side of the equation, but you can see how some symbols are like interrelated between both factions, and
you do see that,
like perhaps a symbol rules more of a region in a landscape of people versus this is owned by one god only.
Right, as attributed to many gods.
Yep.
And also in this picture, so we see these snakes on this Atef crown. We've talked about that. Someone brought up last time, maybe it was Subliminal Messenger, that the throne he's sitting on is a great example of the golden ratio?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating, dude.
That's like the square right angle 90-degree version of the golden ratio. But you can see how they evolve, at least between the red and the green. There's a ratio there that if you were to put that spiral right on top of it, you would see its correlation.
Oh, yeah. And we see the Ankh in his hand, the earliest depiction of the cross. Do you know what the Ankh symbolizes?
Well, it symbolized a multitude of things, but one, power and the ability to communicate and be connected to another like higher source, whether that's
the creator,
potentially.
Yeah, that's what the staff he has also represents. It's a symbol for power and wisdom, and I sometimes think that may be one of his tools that he used for his building of these certain structures, because those pyramids in Egypt, you see the same type of pyramids in a lot of other ancient civilizations, and the supposed creator of those structures usually lines up with the description of Ningishzidda. I don't think I'm too far off on that.
Yeah. Hey, another name for his wife was Geshti Nana, and it was his half sister, the daughter of Enki and Ninma.
So who were the two opposing sides in this pyramid war?
Ninurta is leading the charge from the side of Enlil against Marduk from the side of Enki. And Ninurta gains the upper hand and traps Marduk inside the pyramid.
Right. We talked about that on the last episode as well.
Yeah.
And you see the same thing in the Book of Enoch with Azazel being put on, inside the earth. Throw Azazel in Dudael, ascribe to him all sin. Yeah. Yeah. And so what's the outcome of this pyramid war?
Lots of violence, bloodshed, destructions, chemical weaponry. But eventually Marduk survives. He's evacuated, so to speak, after sustaining some injuries. But then there's kind of like a lull in the action. It's like, what do we do from here? It's almost like a world war / civil war on a massive scale, just in ancient times. So, after a war ends, there's a down period where people get together and decide who gets what land, who pays reparations, who gets exiled, so to speak. So there's something similar going on at this time.
Well, yeah, to the victor goes the spoils. So who was exiled? Marduk.
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about that. Okay. So now it's all starting to come together. Thoth wasn't exactly exiled, was he?
No, he actually was implanted as a temporary ruler of Egypt proper.
Wow, dude. So he had some sway on both sides.
Yeah, well, it's like between Anu was just tired of seeing all the bloodshed, and prior to this, at this point, the Anunnaki, according to the timelines, have been on Earth for like 440,000 years. So the OGs, like Enlil, are taking a step back, whether they want to or because Anu tells them to. So like Ninurta is now in place. And after this display of violence and destruction, they kind of want to try something new in Egypt. And like we were saying earlier, how Zidda has all these positive attributes. He's a very peaceful, gentle, understanding God and like a logical dude. Which is
any accounts of him in Atlantis?
Well, that is if you subscribe to the Emerald Tablets,
right,
from Dorial.
Well, yeah, we've talked about those, and I've also kind of mentioned that those are alchemical tablets, maybe in some way, like found in the ether, kind of like the golden tablets of Joseph Smith.
Right.
I don't necessarily think he was handed tablets, but some form of, because that's alchemical as well, going from a certain color, transmuting it to gold, right?
Yeah. So do you think it's a download?
Perhaps. Yeah. That's what I've kind of I have a theory on that. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay.
So that would make sense that he kind of gets to hang around, because him and Dumuzi, I'm pretty sure they were actually pretty close. I think they were the two guards, or the two, members of this pantheon that were given the opportunity to stand guard at Anu's gate.
Yep.
right? The gates of heaven, the two angels on each side. So I can't help but think that Enlil's children and grandchildren had some kind of respect for him in some way. Also, the fact that you mentioned that, dude, that they had their rule, like Enlil and Enki had their time to rule, and then we know that, you know, they would give kingship to their sons, usually the oldest, right? And where the conflict came in was between each side. They basically wanted to rule over all, right? That's what Marduk wanted. That's what Enlil wanted for Ninurta.
Yeah.
And little Dumuzi. Yeah, we talked about Dumuzi, I think, on a past stream, and we still haven't done our episode on him, also known as Tammuz. So how long did Thoth rule in Egypt?
It was over 1,000 years. I want to say, I can pull it up momentarily, but somewhere in like the 1,600 year range.
Okay. Now, this was before he had went to South America, right?
Correct.
What was the cause for him going to South America?
So after his brief run, you got to understand, like, imagine boxing or mixed martial arts or something, and there's a title, but say there's a title fight, but there's not, it's like both guys get disqualified, and then both guys get injured, and there can't be an immediate title fight, so they'll put like an interim champion in there. So Zidda is like this interim pharaoh. And then the zodiacal age changed again. So then by the laws of succession that they had in place, it was time to flip the script. Was
granted kingship.
Yeah.
And they probably put him in there because, like you said, he was kind of neutral, but like didn't they knew he wasn't going to start like a third pyramid war, right?
Exactly. He would be the last person in the pantheon to start World War III like that.
Yeah, we may not be here if someone else would have been in charge, right?
Yeah, I was close. It was 1570 years.
Okay.
So he was, if you look at it this way, the end of the second dynasty and the last of the Anunnaki gods, or the last of the not the Titans, but or not the Olympians, but the Titans, so to speak. So, because right after him in 7100 BC is the beginning of the demigods. So, Enki's full-blooded Anunnaki, next dude after him has some human DNA inside of him.
There we go. That's what I was looking for, dude. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, do you think some of these deities manifested as the demigods?
That's a great question. That depends on how deep you go into like the reincarnation chambers and how active were
the halls of Amente, right?
Yeah, because then there's a chance.
Well, Meat Cavern just asked, so Zidda just dropped the bag, like, okay, I don't want all this money and power.
Exactly, that's his personality. He's more about like the arts and the crafts and love. Like it's a juxtaposition because he's a male figure in this very, like, both sides were masculine, but he's the most kind of passive and artistic. Now, granted, he wasn't totally just behind the scenes. Like when he needed to develop a weapon or join a war or go rescue and resuscitate a dead body, like, he wasn't afraid. But in general, he was just a chill dude.
Yeah, man. He's never really like harsh in his ways. He's always very understanding and very it seems like the most connected to the creator, like the creator above Anu.
Right, right. Which is why we've heard other people speak about, and I'm sure there's books written about it, but his connection to Yeshua and that kind of Trinity symbolism. Like there's
Can you kind of like expand on that? Because I know some people may not get it. And we're not saying that like Thoth was Christ, right?
yeah, don't come at me, bros. I got booby traps.
Nobody will. Everyone that watches this show is very open-minded to a lot, right? So they know that we're not everything that we're told is 100%, and there may be some truth in absolute. Scott said he'll come at you.
Oh boy.
What's up, Scott? What makes you think that there may be some kind of connection there?
Well, I haven't expanded upon this in my own writings, but just from what I've heard and listened to and read, it's like, as we mentioned, he is the most passive and understanding and loving towards humans with the cleanest track record. So in that regard, he's messianic. He was here to spread the message and not necessarily go with the flow, but do what's right and almost like submit to the will of a higher power,
whether the creator, right? Yeah. Because most people would think that he is there to teach humans how to worship him or how to worship like Anu maybe, or his father Enki. Right. And so I think people need to understand that he was one of the really like the only deity who like rejected that. In a way, he was just there to teach.
Right.
Bring knowledge. That's what the ibis bird symbolized, right? He was there to bring knowledge to humanity and
take it out of the mud and bring it to the light. And that's one of the first things I was going to say is he seemed to be a messenger of light, especially if you look at the tablet writings. He was a guide. He was a rescuer and a bearer of wisdom to be shared with the masses, but specifically those who are ready to learn.
Right. And I've heard the Hermetic principles kind of tie into the teachings of Christ, and some people will say, well, no, the Hermetic principles are dualistic. And yes, they are. All teachings were dualistic then. Most ancient teachings, they're all there's a dark and a light aspect to them. It's kind of like when Christ came, that kind of canceled that dark aspect out. Perhaps. I don't know. Here, I'll bring this up because this is really the same guy, and you can see it through the symbolism. Because we saw the serpent symbolism with Thoth, with Hermes, and Mercury. Now, do you think it's like just another incarnation of him as Hermes and then Mercury, or maybe a son of his?
Yeah, it's like, so the Mercury, I believe, is a mythological tale about the exact dude. They're right next to each other.
I have some better.
And then I think Hermes, there's more evidence to point to. He was a real figure that existed. But the question is, was he a reincarnation proper? Did he roll that way? And I think it's up for debate. It's a fascinating thought experiment.
Yeah, that's an episode that I actually want to do and get into that topic. Are the Hermetic principles and the correlation of those to the teachings of Christ, as well as some things that are said to be in the Emerald Tablets, right?
Yes.
And I'm not saying if you're a follower of Christ, don't go and reject his teachings to follow Hermes but it doesn't hurt to try to make comparisons, because like I said before, not everything that we're taught is 100% true.
Correct. It's very exploratory. And, It can always dig up something tomorrow that reverses half of what we're talking about.
Yeah, and a lot of this knowledge is really you can use it for good or bad. I've talked about this as well. It's about the intention of a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes in this picture right here. I think this is from Secret Teachings, maybe.
Depending on what you believe, whether it's Google AI or ChatGPT, it looks like Hermes did not believe he was Thoth, but the Greeks combined the two gods into Hermes Trismagistus.
So was he a kind of a demigod that maybe just took the teachings of like his late grandfather or maybe his uncle?
How about this angle? It's like, you know how some humans, maybe 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000, are just gifted with something, whether that's, being able to see what's on the other side of a card or have that intuition. Like maybe he was just tapped in and then also had the exact same qualities that Thoth did during a time in Greece where they were obsessed with the gods and magic and trying to make connections and solidify their history to maintain rule and power.
Yeah, and I mean, you could say that maybe they didn't understand these teachings, or maybe they understood them more than us. But I think if we take some of this knowledge and use it to, to uplift humanity, even Christians who are in touch with the Holy Spirit, because I've talked about this a lot recently, and I'm sure I'll lose some followers from it. But there's a lot of Christians that aren't in tune with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They read the Bible, they go to church, but there's no spiritual connection. They're not trying to better themselves or even help other people in their everyday lives by praying for them or positive mental attitude, a PMA.
Yeah, it's almost better to not go to church and be a good person than to go to church and not be a good person outside of it.
Well, it's kind of like any gathering of 1 or 2 or more people would be considered like a church service, right? But shout out Bad Brains. Yes, JC. I grew up, that's one of the things that hardcore would try to teach, like growing up playing hardcore and listening to hardcore music is like to have a positive mental attitude, find solutions for things. Because it's said that punk rock was always about bitching and complaining and, kind of like low IQ stuff. And then hardcore came and it was like, oh, you find a solution for these things and help your brother, help your sister. I guess maybe that's why I always was into that kind of culture.
Hey.
But what I was also going to say is that, yeah, man, I don't know. There's a lot of conflict when you get into talking about that stuff. But here on Gray Pilled Guys, we question a lot, even if it makes us uncomfortable. I'll never try to persuade people away from their relationship with Christ. That's one thing that I'll never do. So it's like a baptism. You don't need a priest to do it. Priests have no authority other than being put into positions of power in the church by other men who are not God. Exactly, bro. Exactly, Jay Brooks. Yeah, man. To have a connection with the Creator, you just need faith, right? And a will to make that certain connection.
Yes.
Anyway, so where were we before I kind of took you off track for a minute? I usually do that, man.
Oh, we were good, bro.
My brain goes a mile a minute sometimes.
We had concluded the Second Pyramid War, determined that after Thoth ruled Egypt, the demigods took over.
And that's where he went to Mesoamerica?
That's where we are.
Okay. As Quetzal, is that a raven? Dude.
Tapping at my chamber door.
So, Quetzalcoatl. Now, how was he placed here in Mesoamerica? Did he choose to go, or was he kind of told to go?
He was encouraged. He was encouraged to go by his father Enki. So he advised him to throw in the sponge, get away from Marduk for a while, and head across the pond to Mesoamerica and found a new colony.
Okay, now were him and Marduk, were they beefing?
They were still kind of squabbling a little bit.
But didn't he help free Marduk out of the pyramid
He did, and that's one of the unsettling things about the whole situation is that like you just can never stay on Marduk's good side, even if you're a blood relative,
even if you're his own brother.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be honest, Marduk killed his youngest brother.
Allegedly.
Out of spite. Allegedly.
Yeah.
Right. Out of spite and envy.
Yeah.
He was jealous of the relationship Dumuzi had with his cousin Ishtar or Inanna, and decided to do what he did, which I think we talked about that on Marduk Part 2.
Yeah, the story kind of evolved to he was acquitted because Dumuzi was shown to have fallen from a high elevation in the course of pursuit by like the Anunnaki henchmen. So, but that's how Marduk got away or got off the hook a little bit, is because it was shown that Dumuzi fell. Whether or not he was pushed, who knows?
All right, hold on. Before I present that Quetzalcoatl image again, I wanted, before we got off of Hermes, this is Mercury right here in the Roman pantheon.
Interesting.
Right? It's now, he was the messenger of the gods. And it talks about, Thoth in Egypt being kind of intermediary between both clans. He would also lead you to Anubis or Nergal, right? Mm-hmm. On your way to the afterlife.
His older brother.
Yeah, Nergal. Yeah, Anubis is a brother of Thoth as well, guys. We that'll be Anubis also being the father of Lilith. Nergal being the father of Lilith, marrying the sister of Inanna, Erishkigal. We haven't even gotten into Ninurta, who is interpreted to maybe be like the father of Nimrod, or the spirit, the spirit of Nimrod coming from Ninurta. We talked about that with the avatar bodies and the regeneration chambers, how they were able to live for so long.
And the Archangel Michael.
There's something to that too. Yeah, there's something to that too that we've gotten into. Mm-hmm. But you see the symbolism here with Mercury, because you have the snakes entwining, right? The same staff that Hermes and Thoth both had. Now, is this I think this dude, and this is the same staff that Moses held up in the fucking desert, or Aaron, one or the other.
A recurring theme.
Yeah. Dude.
I know we talk a lot about the physical characteristics of these gods and goddesses. Have you noticed how Thoth or Zeta are never historically depicted as jacked as Marduk or Enki or Enlil? They're always kind of skinny.
We've talked about that, as well as not having a giant beard.
It's until you get to Hermes Trismagistus that he has a beard. In all these Greek depictions of Mercury, he looks like a young, boyish man who's kind of a little, he's not fat, but he's got a little chub, but he looks super young in comparison to that traditional description or vision of the Anunnaki with the long hair and the long beard and all the jewelry. Where's this dude's timepiece?
Right,
what's going on over here?
That's why I was saying maybe a son of Hermes, or like if they are using avatar bodies, has to be some other incarnation of him.
Yeah.
Royal Deluxe Subliminal says anything on Daughters of Ninhursag. We can take 2 minutes to touch on that. Yeah, we could do a whole episode just on, because it's 7 of them, right?
Yes.
This may be related to like the 7 oracles in Greece, or the 7 sages of the world.
Yeah.
Ninima, Shuziana, Ninmata. There you go with that nin prefix. Ninbara, Ninmug, Musardu, Ninguna. Yeah, the 7 mothers of humanity. That goes back to the creation myth of they basically were birthing all these different like versions of Anunnaki hybrids, right?
Yeah, and they had specialties. Like Ninsar was a divine butcher who prepared meat. Ninsa was the goddess of plants and vegetation. And like Ninmu was associated with wisdom.
We'll have to do an episode on that.
I find it fascinating. Like, I'm always curious, were they told when they're kids, like, hey, your destiny is to be the goddess of plants and vegetation? Or did they like gravitate towards something that they fell in love with over time?
And Royal Deluxe says anything on Nisaba. Is there like a little gem that you can put in there for him? Nisaba.
Writing in grain, one of the oldest deities associated with writing. So, but that whole triad, Ninma, the half-brother, Enki, well, now it's a quattro because it's the son of Enki and then the daughter of Ninma. All 4 of them were like associated with writing and art, things like that.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure there is maybe Ningishzidda. Did he have any kids?
We should save that for the next episode.
We should. Dude, yeah, okay. You know something that I don't know.
Nisaba is also the goddess of accounting, surveying, and grain. So this is interesting. I wonder who started the accounting in Samaria first. Was it Nisaba or Nanar?
Yo, you talked about that. Okay, so Nanar Sin, guys, and we've talked about this, but we'll touch on it for a second. He was a son of Enlil. This is where, and he was the moon god. It's where the word sin comes from as well. He is the Islamic god.
Yeah.
All the symbolism is there. Him appearing to Muhammad as Gabriel. Also the father of Utu Shamash, the sun god Helios, as well as Shamsiel in the book of Enoch. And
he was a busy man.
Yeah. I
think he had the most kids behind Anu.
You're right. They had Jew accountants. Well, maybe not so much Jewish, but Muslim, right?
Well, I mean, think about this. Who is Nanar the son of?
The god of the Jews?
Yeah, bro. It's all related. It's crazy.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man, because then you have your different sects of Jews. And, we have a theory, guys, that these deities came down and basically stole the title of the creator and then, like, manifested, telling all these ancient tribes of people, hey, we're God.
Yep.
And so, yes.
Oh, yeah. Love
always,
that.
Dude.
We've done our job today.
Yeah, dude.
We blew a mind.
This is awesome. And I love when you get into it a little more. I know last episode we kind of wrapped up on Marduk. I'm sure you were getting very tired of talking about Marduk.
I mean, we'll just have a free for all episode one day and just shoot the shit and talk about personalities and like what his lifestyle would be like in the modern day and what the repercussions would be. That'd be a fun experiment.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome, dude. So let's see. I know you probably have to get out of here soon.
I do.
Did you want to kind of touch on where we can leave off on Quetzalcoatl?
Yeah, let's because man, we every time we get together we think of new episode subjects, but there could be an entire one on his time in South America. And just to re-summarize the ending, Enki encourages Zeta to head to Mesoamerica. He takes with him a band of faithful African followers known as the Olmecs. And then they went and built the Mayan civilization. After that, they built the Incan civilization. He was known as Viracocha, which meant creator of all there is.
Then also known as Kukulkan, right?
Yep. Kukulkan means wise being who flew in a bird-like craft. And Quetzalcoatl means the flying serpent.
We have theories that, if these entities were advanced in their knowledge, that they could create these, UFOs. I guess you could call them, and that's what's been back engineered by our government in modern day.
Yeah, big time, man. I've been just deep down the UFO rabbit hole recently, but not to jump off the path. I'll wrap up by saying there is a point where Zeta has to contest for power in Mesoamerica with his cousin from the other side, Ishkaradad. And at this point, he goes to Asia and becomes the first Buddha.
Ningishzidda.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we will. We'll have to do a part 3 on Ningishzidda, dude.
Yeah, we'll dive into that.
Okay. Well, I know you have to get out of here. Just tell everyone where they can find you, Adrian.
Hey, y'all, my website. I'm from the South. Hey, y'all. AdrianWestHQ.com. Instagram, AdrianWestHQ. Shoot me a DM. Give me a follow. Hit my website up. Let's talk about these topics and more and figure out how to spread this knowledge and get rich doing it.
Here you go, man. And they can find your book, Pantheon 1, the Golden Veins, on Amazon, right?
That's correct. And yeah, I'm either going to use Amazon again to publish book 2 or self-publish. I think I've used two different publishers for my first 2 books. The first one wasn't related to this material, but
what was the first one called?
It's called Shoot for the Stars. It's about independent filmmaking.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'd have been pushing that too, man.
That's on Amazon too. Thank you. Well, if anyone's listening and you want to know everything I know about how to make a movie condensed into about 120 pages, then look up Shoot for the Stars, the 5 Dimensions of Digital Filmmaking.
I love that title too, man.
Thanks.
Well, we'll be here pushing your book as it comes out. I know you have Pantheon 1. I don't know what the second book is really going to be called. Is it going to be titled the same thing, just part 2? Or is it going to be called Pantheon 2?
It'll be called Pantheon 2, Garden of the Gods.
Yo, banger title, dude. Banger title, bro.
Yeah, I'll send you some concept art too.
Dude, hell yeah.
I have some ideas.
Well, you're part of Grey Pill, brother. So.
Yeah, it's really about, it's going to be so much fun because it's about the Garden of Eden, the creation of Adam and Eve, and like the deep stuff, like the nitty gritty.
I can't wait to read that, dude. That's going to be a banger. All right, brother. Well, hopefully we could do another one of these next week if you're free.
Yeah, I'm in town this coming week, And I think for the next 7 days I should be available.
Okay, well,
Relatively.
if not next Saturday, then maybe we can do one. I don't know if you're available on Friday nights or maybe one night this week, perhaps.
Yeah,
We'll just play it by ear.
We'll figure it out.
All right, brother. We'll see you later, man.
Thanks for having me. Shout out to your audience. Stay gray pilled.
All right, bro.
Peace.
You get okay. There we go. Yeah. So I did want to bring this. So I don't know, guys. Is that a raven? Because if it is, this could very well tie into Norse mythology. Odin's raven. I've had theories that pantheon has a little bit to do with Enki as well, mostly from the connection between Dumuzi and Balder. Odin loses his son Balder and has to go get him back in the underworld. It could just be an adapted myth that culture kind of got from the Sumerians or the Babylonians. We know how that works. Odin's 2 ravens. Okay. It is all connected, subliminal.
Kill me, boy. You handsome faggot.
I didn't even know that he put that at the very end until Subliminal commented earlier and was like, that ending. I was like, wait a minute. It's a banger, man. Shouts out Tim. Yeah, Jay Brooks, I saw you in the Strange Brew chat earlier, man. Thank y'all for go and subscribe to Strange Brew's channel, man. Tomcat was one of the main influences on me, podcasting. The way he does his podcast, the whole layout of it is awesome. It's a great presentation. Yeah, banger shit. You're right. I guess I'll save. I had some videos I was going to play of Thoth. And when you read like the Necronomicon and stuff, if you choose to read that, I don't suggest it for anybody, but if you dive deep into the occult, one thing that's very interesting, every deity in it has a Sumerian name. It's the same deities. They're just being summoned through magic. And you see Ningishzidda in that too. So, I kind of look at it in a couple different ways. I don't know if any of these deities were good. Maybe it goes back to the whole dualism of it, the dualistic aspect, the light and the dark. We know I've talked about the mystery schools, and that's where a lot of it stems from, is the Kabbalah, and how in the Kabbalah Samael is a necessary evil and all this stuff, and so you can't have good without bad. Almost is what it sounds like, but who knows? That doesn't seem like in history there's ever really been a good without bad. There's always some kind of adversary out there, some adversarial figure. So he's dope, but lives with Americans are not his strong suit, especially if Meat Cavern is in the chat. Yeah. Oh, you listen to Strange Brew? Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah. Well, when we did the Protocols Part 2 and I turned into the Naptilian, Uh, we shouldn't have taken that break. I was like, yeah, I can hang with the big boys. Yeah, that was something, huh? And I saw Curious Celtic in the chat, kind of trolling Tomcat, and that's when Tomcat kind of had to end it, right? He was like, fuck you, Curious Celtic, and all. I mean, I thought it was kind of funny, but let Reptilian cook. Yeah, we have a lot of shows that we're going to be doing together. So hopefully everyone I invited next week will be there. What other shows do I have? I like how that rolled over into Alston. Right. Alston and his outros, man. It usually, if y'all watch Already Dead, because most of the time during Tower Gang, Jose is the one that's like, all right, guys, let's get the fuck out of here. And they're like, Jose, you can go. During Already Dead at like the hour 30 mark, Jose will be like, all right, well, let's put your plugs in, Austin, and let's go ahead and get out of here. And Austin will just start like, well, you know, I just, and you see Jose just like, and I'm behind the scenes just like trying not to fucking knock shit over laughing. There was this one time he did it where Jose was in the private chat just like, I gotta go, brother. I gotta go. And I'm sitting here laughing just like, oh, fuck, this is incredible. So when he did that on Nephilim Death Squad, yeah, it cracked me up. The way Top was laughing, I was pissing myself. I was like, that's great. It's great. Because I mean, it's never, I don't know, he always has something good to say, right? Austin. It's always something that's informative or kind of like a white pill, right? Because usually the stuff he talks about is pretty black pilling. Let's see. Oh, here, I guess let me share this. This is something I found on Gaia. Which I used to have a subscription to. I'm not so much of a fan anymore.
I start to feel the presence of Thoth, of Yahud. And I had no idea why, because it was not Egypt, but
he just call him Yahud? Yahudi? Oh, shit. That's crazy. That's like an ancient Hebrew word, right? I think this guy is in South America. This Matthias De Stefano. This guy's like an Akashic record dude, like real new age and stuff. You know, I don't agree with 100% of what a lot of these guys talk about, but I take it into consideration. And when you do research on it, you can kind of find truth in the middle somewhere.
His presence there was really heavy. And there was a message of meeting him in a place called Aramumuru, which is a door in the rock in Peru, just in the border with Bolivia. And
always Peru. Always. We're going to talk about that on the next one. I don't know if the next episode will be Ningishzidda unless y'all want it to be. Then we can start on somebody else. Maybe I'll take like a poll on Patreon or something.
And so we went there. And when we just arrived there, suddenly I became him. And it was weird for my friends because they never saw me that way. And suddenly I just turned back to them and my face was different. And they said, what happened? And I said, I did like this. And two birds, ibis, the Thoth birds, flew from me from behind, and it was like, what is? I start to feel the presence.
Fucking weird, man. Weird. Like I don't know. I couldn't really connect with the deity like that. Rock portals are golem booty. All right, it's like the butthole portals, right? Yeah, Yakub. I don't know, man. There's something to that, but I thought that was interesting. I remember seeing that. There's also this other video on Thoth. This guy, like astral traveling in Egypt, and he goes to this like secret chamber in the astral realm but it's like a secret chamber in the pyramid. It's actually like very fucking interesting. Stuff like that it fascinates me. However, I probably would not participate in anything like that, because who knows what could inhabit you, right? What could inhabit your soul, your body. It's like that consent thing, right? You're giving consent for these entities to like come inside of you. That sounded real bad. All right. Yeah, guys, I have a couple shows scheduled for the future. Chris from Forbidden Knowledge News. It's weird. Top and Raven went on that show. I've been in touch with Chris for the last 2 months. He was booked up all of December and January, basically. So we got a show for February. I think the second Saturday in February, which I don't think he goes live. So I'll record that and post it to Patreon for the first week or so y'all can check it out, and then I'll make that live. That's one of the perks of being a Patreon member. You do have the top tier, the $25 tier that Tim Tuttle is a part of, where you can like come on one of our, I think he may even come on Sound Science. Got to get that. We're going to do a Sound Science with Olivia as well to kind of help promote her show. I may be doing a Babylon episode with her this next week, in which will probably come to Patreon, so you guys can check that out as well. Yeah, Jose's awesome, man. He's the homie. And then Heidi Love from the Unfiltered Rise podcast. I have some stuff that we're going to be doing also. Todd Cave, I can't remember his podcast, but we were supposed to have a show tomorrow, but I don't know if I'll be able to. Maybe I'll be able to, and I'll let you guys know. Are there Grapist teas? They're coming, Anna. They're coming. Hopefully soon. I've been trying to talk to Top about it, but I know he's a busy guy. I was supposed to have some fucking Gray Pill merch back in September, but the guy who I was gonna do it through, he fucking flaked out on me. I don't know. We don't really talk anymore now. So, but yeah, so I was supposed to have merch. I was promised merch. I was made a literal website and like sample pictures and everything. And then dude fucking ghosted me. Yeah, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I have a couple errands that I have to run. I love you guys. Stay gray pill, motherfuckers. I'll see y'all later.
Kill me, boy. You handsome faggot.
Jules, you're the best. Thank you so much for coming on. You really classed up.
Yes, guys, go follow Great Pill Podcast. Got a great show, by the way.
Great show, cool dude. Go check him out.
Shout out Jules.
Trying to kill me, Goy. You handsome faggot.
Have they? Oh no. There's another timestamp.
Bye. I'm kicking the producers. All right, guys, go check out Gray Pilled Nephilim shit. That's what he's all about.
Then you have the second fall, that of Azazel and Semyaza, who you also see in the Sumerian stories as well. And Shamash being the sun god, Shamsiel teaching the signs of the sun.
If they're by us, they're the dangerous retards. If they're by you guys, it's the hard army. If they're by the Grey Pilled Podcast, he calls them the Greypists, which is incredible, honestly. An entire group of schizophrenics that we've
One of the daughters of Enoch was taken by a fallen angel, and that was one of the Babylonian bloodlines where Rothschild came from, the Red Shield or Ra Shield. You know what? I'm not even voting, but I hope Trump wins just so you faggots can cry for another 4 years. You know, this was here.
Faggot Nick.
It's the Grey Pill Podcast, dropping Jews for Jews on the Grey Pill Podcast. Find the school, all these fools on the Grey Pill Podcast.
Welcome to the Grey Pilled Podcast.